没问题，冇問題，屌你個藍毛閪，係邊個？怪佬，沒問題，沒問題，準備好啊！我們開始就播發直播，開始直播，待會兒就開始直播。好了，來了，馬上就開始直播。你來聽嗎？來聽聽啊，沒問題，沒問題，冇問題，冇問呀。我是美國人，歡迎光臨大家。我們一會兒就開始啊。今天從北京直播，天龍地下。All right. About ready to get started. Hope y'all good-looking, sexy people doing all right. I'm trying to figure all this shit out right now, man. Not exactly sure what's going on. It's all right, though. Hoping that it's working. We're going to do a little I and Thou session, the final sessions. I was just looking through the end of the book, and it looks like there's a few pages left on part 2, and then there's a final section where it looks like Boober really presents the whole thrust of his understanding in the third part. So that'll be good magic. We'll get to finish it up soon. There's about 40 pages in the third part, and I'll probably spend the rest of my vacation reading it. Not sure how much of that I'll share online, but I'll do my best to bring a little something to the people, because it's good to have you here, and I appreciate you stopping by to tune in. You can always join the show at, there's the link. I'll see if I can pin the link in YouTube. No, it's not working. Why is that? Why? Why must you play games with me, YouTube? Wow, it just doesn't even let me touch it. Maybe if I put some other things underneath it so that the link moves up a little bit. Blessings did all that. Hope you are ready for another I and Thou session based on Boober's book. Let's see if that'll move it up a little bit so I can touch it. Yeah, that worked. Ha! So smart. Yeah, so I had to shift up the thing in the chat window in order to be able to touch. Hey, it's showing it on screen too. It's kind of weird. Weird. It's weird, like Rachel Zegler, right? Join the show. Studio Restream link. Yeah, we're going with this Restream studio because we're right at the end of my cycle on my StreamYard hours. And I've only got a couple of hours left on StreamYard, but I've still got 12 days left before my cycle resets. So better to stop streaming so much on that one and try to use some of the hours we got here in the Restream studio, which seems, and I don't want to jinx myself, but I was going to say, seems to be functioning slightly better than it typically does. So welcome back, Wizard, Warrior, Wayfarer, and Wildcat alike, wherever you are, whoever you are, and whenever you may be receiving this transmission. I hope you are doing well. Take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe if inquiries into magic, the arcane, the occult and esoteric, Taoism, and esoteric Christian philosophies as well from time to time, right? Like we're looking into I and Thou, which is kind of a thing. It's a good thing. I've been enjoying it. I hope you've been keeping up with the sessions. I think I've done 15 sessions on I and Thou, so about 15 times 2, roughly 2 hours each. So we're looking at about 20 to 30 hours of content on the I and Thou session. It's almost like an entire semester of material about the old I and Thou. We'll go ahead and queue up that's not what I wanted. Can't share screen. Yeah, I didn't want to share screen. What are you trying to do to me here? We'll go ahead and queue up the intro video. And it's 3 minutes. That'll give me enough time to prep my coffee. And then we'll do the invocation of Tahuti. And that'll give me enough time to pour our coffee.
One of those old Frank
Yeah,
Monday
so let's get into this good
coming at
music.
ya. It's another.
All right, I'm going to reset that so it plays correctly. And how can I adjust the window? There we go. I'm down in the corner, right-hand corner. See, in Restream even, you can move your little head around. I could go from the right corner to the left corner. No, that didn't work. Oh, well. I thought I could go to different corners, but it looks like I'm mitigated to that bottom right corner. Frank Monday intro, and then I'll be right back.
It's another one of those old Frank Monday productions coming at ya.
Okay guys, our next comedian is a bit of a treat, to be honest. It is a bit of a treat. He's been away for 3 years. He is now back from the dead. Well, America. Give a big round of applause for Frank Monday.
Appreciate that shit. Nick's a good man. I know what that's like, being a good man. It's tough in a fucking city like this, though. You know, nobody gives a fuck. They're like, goddamn, that's some crazy shit. Motherfucker wearing high heels and shit. Looking good, too, huh? Yeah, you guys like that. That's alright. It's okay to fall down occasionally. I do that sometimes. Alright, being back in the G is pretty fucking nerve-wracking. You know, performing for 4 minutes straight. The only other time I get this anxious when I gotta perform for 4 minutes straight is when I gotta make love to my wife.
Onion ring. Yeah, they're all right.
Hey, be watching for the Star Wars blog Rebellion coming out in December. You'll love it. It's follow-up to the award-winning Generations. Oh yeah. There you go, Frank. Here's my burger.
All right. Yeah, we got to get that coffee brewing, guys. So we're gonna I'm going to play the old Invocation of Tahuti while I pour out that coffee. It should only take me a minute, but the Invocation of Tahuti actually lasts, I think, like 5 to 6 minutes, something like that. So that'll be perfect timing to get it done. Hey, we got a visitor in the ideas room. One Austin Murphy. Welcome to the show, Austin. Good to see you. Austin says, why do you, I'm not sure who he's talking to. Are you talking to someone in the chat room, or are you talking to me, Austin? Why do you always talk shit about people you don't know on here to cause drama? Whoa, that's weird, man. That's way out of left field. Are you sure you're in the right chat room? Maybe you clicked on the wrong window, Austin. Always. Could you define always? You mean like every show from start to finish? So like this quantifier here, I'm not really, I don't know. I've made 5,000 videos on YouTube, and to imply that I always talk shit about people, I don't know what people, who are you talking about? Could you be more specific? I do occasionally talk. Okay, so we'll refine it a little bit. I rarely talk shit about anyone, number one. So the inherent contradiction in your question shows that you're not coming at this conversation in good faith. So I'm assuming you're just a troll. I do recognize you from over at Chats with Jack. So that may be where I usually don't talk shit at all on Chats with Jack. So that doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Do you watch my channel? What are you, are you like a Desert Storm soldier in your pick here? Are you Army, or I don't think you're Navy. I doubt you're Marine Corps. You kind of got a Marine Corps attitude though, right? Jarhead. Semper Fi! What makes the grass green? Blood, blood, blood. How do we get it? Kill, kill, kill. So yeah, if that's your perspective coming at things, I can see why you're a bit of an asshat. People you don't know on here. On where? On my platform, my channel? To cause drama. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't understand the question. It doesn't really feel like a good faith question, so who knows what kind of stick you got up your ass. But yeah, just I don't know, go fuck yourself, I guess, if you're not interested in clarifying. If you'd like to clarify, if you'd like to come on panel, from what I recall though, I don't think I've ever seen you panel up, so you're just a bit of the keyboard warrior type, right? You're a real tough guy as long as you've got a machine gun in your hand and a keyboard. But when it comes to actually speaking to other human beings, it seems like you fall short. Maybe you can't afford a microphone. Maybe your internet connection is via a tin can and a fishing line. So no, I don't get it. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And yeah, so that's what that is. All right. Haters gonna hate, right? Trolls gonna troll. It's kind of in the name. It's in the name. Yeah, we gotta go finish up that coffee so we can get this thing started, man. A little I and thou session. It should be fun. Should be interesting. It does take time though here. I've noticed Restream, its basic reaction speed to certain commands is a lot slower than StreamYard. But it is what it is, right? Mr. Murphy just done woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. He like, motherfucker this, motherfucker that. Some bitch. Weird. Why do you come to someone's station, broadcasting station, and try to instigate drama? Do you have nothing better to do than patrol the boob tube, looking for little niche angles that you can attempt to create some additional drama? Invocation of Tahuti, guys. Holy art thou, Lord of the universe, the vast and the mighty one, creator of heaven and earth, maker of all things visible and invisible, master of both light and the darkness, he who was, is, and always shall be. We adore thee and we invoke thee. Send us one of your divine spiritual agents, our holy guardian angel, to protect and guide us through the innumerable snares of the earthly sphere, and a cleansing wind to disperse all negativity and endless, odious, noxious human opinion, irrelevant human opinion. Teach us those secret things which we must know for the completion of the great work and the glory of thine ineffable name, Adonai. So it is commanded and confirmed. So mote it be. Amen. All right, good magic. Hail unto thee who art raw in thy rising, even unto thee who art raw in thy strength, who travellest over the heavens at the uprising of the sun. Tahuti, lord of magic, standeth in his splendor at the prow, and Rahor abideth at the helm. Hail unto thee from the abodes of twilight. Remember, O neophyte, goodness alone is power, silence is strength, will regaineth omnipotence, and love lieth at the foundation, because love is the law, love under will.
Invocation of Thoth. Procul, O procul esti profani, ar lasti ampeda. In the name of the mighty and terrible one, I proclaim that I have banished the shells unto their habitations. I invoke Tahuti, the Lord of wisdom and of utterance, the God that cometh forth from the veil. O thou majesty of the Godhead, wisdom-crowned Tahuti, Lord of the gates of the universe, thee I invoke. O thou of the ivy's head, thee I invoke. Thou who wieldest the wand of double power, thee I invoke. Thou who bearest in thy left hand the rose and cross of light and life, thee I invoke. Thou whose head is as an emerald, and thy nemesis as the night sky blue, thee I invoke. Thou whose skin is of flaming orange as though it burned in a furnace, thee I invoke. Behold, I am yesterday, today, and the brother of tomorrow. I am born again and again. Mine is the unseen force whereof the gods are sprung, which is as life unto the dwellers in the watchtowers of the universe. I am the charioteer of the east, lord of the past and of the future. I see by mine own inward light Lord of resurrection, who cometh forth from the dust, and my birth is from the house of death. O ye two divine hawks upon your pinnacles, who keep watch over the universe, ye who company the bier to the house of rest, who pilot the ship of wrong, ever advancing onwards the heights of heaven, Lord of the shrine which standeth in the center of the earth. Behold, he is in me, and I in him. Mine is the radiance wherein Ptah floateth over the firmament. I travel upon high. I tread upon the firmament of new. I raise up flashing flame with the lightning of mine eye, ever rushing on in the splendor of the daily glorified Ra, giving my life to the dwellers of earth. If I say, come up upon the mountains, the celestial waters shall flow at my word. For I am Ra incarnate, Kefra, created in the flesh. I am the eidolon of my father Tamu, Lord of the city of the sun. The God who commands is in my mouth. The God of wisdom is in my heart. My tongue is the sanctuary of truth, and a guard sitteth upon my lips. My word is accomplished every day, and the desire of my heart realizes itself as that of Ptah when he createth his works. I am eternal, therefore all things are as my designs, therefore do all things obey my word. Therefore do thou come forth unto me from thine abode in the silence, unutterable wisdom, or light, or power. So, Hermes, Mercury, Odin, by whatever name I call thee, thou art still nameless to eternity. Come thou forth, I say, and aid and guard me in this work of art. Thou, star of the east, that didst conduct the Magi, thou art the same all present in heaven and in hell. Thou that vibratest between the light and the darkness, rising, descending, changing ever, yet ever the same. The sun is thy father, thy mother the moon. The wind hath borne thee in its bosom, and earth hath ever nourished the changeless Godhead of thy youth. Come thou forth, I say, come thou forth, and make all spirits subject unto me, so that every spirit of the firmament and of the ether, upon the earth and under the earth, on dry land and in the water, of whirling air and of rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God the vast one may be obedient unto me.
All right. That was the Invocation of Tahuti, brought to us by beloved Sir Francis Israel Ragardi. Good magic. Okay. So if you've got your copy of Buber's book, I and Thou, I will find the page number for you, beloved. We left off on page 119 of the 1970 Walter Kaufman edition of Martin Buber's I and Thou. And the last part of that paragraph says, the word I remains the shibboleth of humanity. Napoleon spoke it without the power of relating, but he spoke it as the eye of an accomplishment. Those who exert themselves to copy this merely betray the hopelessness of their own self-contradiction. So be wary that you're not engaged in self-contradiction. Let's see here. Now, I was unfamiliar with the idea of a shibboleth of humanity, and I looked it up, and it directed me to a biblical source. I was suspicious that it might be biblical, but if I can find the page real quick. Wow, it's a little further back than I had originally thought. That's okay. Where? Why? Give me a second, guys. A shibboleth. And here we are. A shibboleth is a test that reveals who truly belongs, a distinguishing sign that exposes inner identity. The shibboleth of humanity means the defining trait that shows whether someone is genuinely human in spirit, not biologically, but morally or spiritually. Different writers use the phrase differently, but it usually refers to qualities such as compassion, mercy, conscience, and the capacity to recognize others as equal persons. In short, it's a trait you cannot fake that proves real humanity. Not exactly what they're distinguishing from, I guess, NPCs, right? The term originates in the Bible, specifically the book of Judges. And in that story, the Gileadites stopped fleeing Ephraimites at the Jordan River. They asked each man to pronounce the word shibboleth. The Ephraimite dialect could only say sibboleth, and the pronunciation revealed identity and determined the life or death. Wow, that's seems pretty severe. I don't know the situation from Book of Judges. Not much of a biblical scholar, to be honest with you. I pity the fool who spends too much time reading that shit, but, to each his own. Writers and theologians expanded the idea metaphorically. It's a moral password of the soul, the inner quality that distinguishes human people from merely human animals. So that's a shibboleth. So the I remains the shibboleth of humanity in the I-thou relation. And an interesting thought came to mind when I was contemplating Buber's book, I and Thou, and I was curious if he had any thought from Taoism, any influence from the Tao, because he in the last part of this, in part 3, there is some mention to the Upanishads and Buddhism, which again, I don't know much about Buddhism. It's not really been an interest of mine. But I thought, well, then maybe, because the whole book so far seems to be based on Taoist ideas. And so I was inquiring into whether or not Buber had influenced by Tao. And it seems that he did not. But the summary in a sentence of synthesis states, Buber and Taoism arrive at remarkably similar insights about non-objectifying awareness, but the evidence points to parallel realization rather than historical influence. So at least at the surface level, that appears to be the case. But that doesn't mean that he didn't read a copy and think, hey, I can reinterpolate these ideas into my own understanding. So what is this self-contradiction that they mentioned at the end of the last, or that he mentioned at the end of the last paragraph? When man does not test the a priori of relation in the world, working out and actualizing the innate you in what he encounters, it turns inside. Then it unfolds through the unnatural, impossible object, the I, which is to say that it unfolds where there is no room for it to unfold. Thus, the confrontation within the self comes into being, and this cannot be relation, presence, the current of reciprocity, but only self contradiction. Some men may try to interpret this as a relation, perhaps one that is religious, in order to extricate themselves from the horror of their doppelganger. Top of page 120. They are bound to keep rediscovering the deception of any such interpretation. Here is the edge of life. What is unfulfilled has here escaped into the mad delusion of some fulfillment. Now it gropes around in the labyrinth and gets lost ever more profoundly. At times when... give me one moment. All right. Close the door so that my reading doesn't disturb my children. All right, good. So again, at the top of page 120, the next paragraph, actually next section, these are kind of offset by asterisks, so they're meant to be read in like segments, so almost like poetic verse, but it would be along the lines of free verse, but I guess just some dialogical of inquiry, right? He calls it a dialogical. So a dialogue with the logic of looking inward, a dialogical philosophy. Interesting. Have to look a little more into that. Okay, here we go. At times when man is overcome by the horror of the alienation between I and world, it occurs to him that something might be done. Imagine that at some dreadful midnight you lie there, tormented by waking dream. The bulwarks have crumbled, and the abysses scream. And you realize in the midst of this agony that life is still there, and I must merely get through to it. But how? How? Thus feels man in the hours when he collects himself, overcome by horror, pondering without direction. And yet he may know the right direction deep down in the unloved knowledge of the depths, thy direction of return that leads through sacrifice. But he rejects this knowledge. What is mystical cannot endure the artificial midnight sun. He summons thought in which he places, quite rightly, much confidence. Thought is supposed to fix everything. After all, it is the lofty art of thought that it can paint a reliable and practically credible picture of the world. Thus man says to his thought, "Look at that dreadful shape that lies over there with those cruel eyes. Is she not one with whom I played long ago? Do you remember how she used to laugh at me with these eyes, and how good they were then? And now look at my wretched eye. I'll admit it to you, it is empty. and whatever I put into it myself, experience as well as use, does not penetrate to this cavern. Won't you fix things between her and me so that she relents and I will get well again? And thought, ever obliging and skillful, paints with its accustomed speed a series, nay, 2 series of pictures on the right and left wall. Here is, rather, or happens, for the words of the pictures thought are reliable motion pictures. Here is the universe. From the whirl of stars emerged the small earth. From the teeming on earth emerges small man. And now history carries him forth through the ages to persevere in rebuilding the anthills of the cultures that crumble under its steps. Beneath this series of pictures is written, one and all. On the other wall happens the soul. A female figure spins the orbits of all stars and the life of all creatures, and the whole of world history. All is spun with a single thread, and is no longer called stars and creatures and world, but feelings and representations, or even living experiences, states of the soul. And beneath this series of pictures is written, one and all. Interesting. So he wrote this during his professorship at Hebrew University in 1938 to 1951. So he was definitely familiar with the major arcana of the tarot at that time by Arthur Edward Wyatt and Pamela Coleman Smith. So he just described 2 tarot pictures from the major arcana of that occult book. One being the world card, right? The universe, as it were, and the other being the magician. So I could see his influence there. And if not, then again, like it says, it's a parallel realization. And that image, obviously, the goddess Columbia, comes from a much earlier source. Let's continue. Bottom of page 121. Henceforth, when man is for once overcome by the horror of alienation, and the world fills him with anxiety, he looks up, right or left, as the case may be, and sees a picture. Then he sees that the I is contained in the world, and that there really is no I, and thus the world cannot harm the I. And he calms down, or he sees that the world is contained in the I, and that there really is no world, and thus the world cannot harm the I, and he calms down. And when he is overcome again by the horror of alienation and the I fills him with anxiety, he looks up and sees a picture. And whichever he sees, it does not matter. The empty I is stuffed full of world, or it is submerged in the flood of world, and he calms down. But the moment will come, and it is near, when man, overcome by horror, looks up and in a flash sees both pictures at once, and he is then seized by a deeper horror. Funny. Yeah, I don't know. I've been contemplating that dual reality of the false dichotomy since a long, long time. Again, that's why I think it really has a lot of Taoist insight in it. This I and Thou by Martin Buber. It's a good book. It's not a long read. There's some parts in it that are a little difficult, but with like large language models and stuff to look up obscure phrases like the shibboleth of humanity and stuff like that, it really makes it kind of a more adventurous read. Young people as scholars entering into university these days, college and university, and even at the high school level, right? When you've got access to a laptop and these tools of inquiry, are really strategically positioned to take advantage of a depth and breadth of education that was really never available to the lay scholar in the past. I mean, when you can look up an obscure German reference and get a little background and insight, like within just a few seconds. What a thing. I remember when I was young and I was studying this type of content and material, like you had to cross-reference through libraries and ask learned scholars to help kind of walk you through certain things. And that was rarely available. Like your university professors, they didn't really have that much time to talk to individual students. They would come in and lecture and they would just expect you to catch up. Whereas now, these days, with these kinds of digital tools at the students' behest, it really opens up a whole new world of study. I don't know if they'll. Yeah, I believe that some will, and I even like my children. I see them doing a lot more active research into certain ideas with greater efficiency. I don't know that they'll retain it or that they'll be deep learning from it, but at least they'll have access and they won't get stuck as easily, right? They can keep going with the flow, as it were. I see that being one of the probably the most dynamic changes in our coming culture is less and less of an emphasis on fixed, memorized data points and being able to more malleably, in a liquid fashion, move between those data points. The data points in and of themselves, whereas those were lauded as the height of education or indoctrination, really, in the past, are no longer going to be the stalwarts of the emerging future. Which just makes sense, really, because we're finding out that a lot of it was, the historic record, it is what it is, but a lot of it's garbage. And with that realization, there's no reason why we can't synthesize better things. And being able, even if you're taking garbage points and then synthesizing something better, hopefully the arrived at a posteriori determinations and deductions will be increasingly better. And I believe that should be true. I believe that should play out. So the third part begins on page 123, and it immediately launches into a conversation about God, which the preceding part of the book hasn't really dealt with. Though it's been setting up this I and thou dialogical, right? The conversation between you and God. He really hasn't brought that to the forefront of the study of the book itself, right? It's just been establishing the relationship between I and thou. And it's done it at a more prosaic, mundane level of like it and the world, I and the world, I and you. And now we're going to really be looking into the I and thou aspect. But I'm going to go ahead and save that for another session. And so, being that it's about 40 pages long and I can typically cover 5 to 10 pages in a single session, that might take a couple more sessions. But I think what I'm going to do is over the rest of my holiday here, my vacation, winter holiday, is I got a few days left, about a week left of winter holiday. And I'm going to go ahead and read through it myself and condense it and summarize it. I would suggest that you too, Wayfarer, listener out there in Happy Land, anyone's been keeping up with the I and Thou sessions, download a copy of it, look into it, and we'll do it together for the last couple sessions. Yeah, so that's good magic. I think that's probably going to be it. I was kind of waiting for TML to get his show started, but I do recall that he typically does about an hour-long monologue at the beginning, maybe a little longer. So I would think that we probably have time to look at Let me see, local files. Presentations. I wonder if I could upload PDFs on presentations. Yeah, okay, good. I clicked the right button for that, so that's good magic. Let me check on TML real quick. And possibly I could listen to it in the background a little bit. Okay, yeah, look, he's got the panel open. Avian Buddha's there. Axis Rat Blood. Dominator. TML himself, Brown's Boy, is in the chat, and Reddington as well is there. So yeah, looking good. Let me tune in real quick and see what's going on. Okay, so it looks like he finished the opening monologue. Perfect. Yeah, I'll get over there. Quick flash in a hurry. So I'm not going to deal with the Taoist text then this time. I'll go ahead and I'll save it for next time. So I'm going to drop that. And then, yeah, a bit of music for the people to finish the show. Come back, we'll do a prayer, and that'll be a wrap. Yeah, right under an hour. Perfect, right? So here it is here. A little music from Dweller of the Dark.
Eagles flying high, cats on the prowl, devils in your bed, their whispers so loud, witches on my heels, so they'll steal, running in the dark, truth they conceal, blood on the walls, splattering a sink, God can't help the dead, no time to think, hounds howl at night, shadows in the light, fear in every breath, eyes wide with fright, cards dealt by fate, no way to escape, threads getting tight, can't see the daylight, blood on the walls, splattering a sink, God can't help the dead, no time to think. Cards dealt by fate, no way to escape, threads getting tight, can't see the daylight, blood on the walls, splattering a sink, God can't help the dead, no time to think.
All right. That was Dweller of the Dark with God Can't Help the Dead. That's going to go ahead and wrap up the show for today. Martin Buber's I and Thou. Buber's book, The Dialogical Philosophy of how to have a better understanding of God through the relational process of interacting with the man himself, right? The thing itself, the divine architect. I will finish with the invocation of total integration from the Universal Society of the Integral Way, or the Quanzhen Daojia, or Complete School of Taoist Reality. Heaven and earth are the spontaneous manifestations of the subtle, wondrous universal law. As the original oneness expresses itself, gross and subtle energies become distinctly divided. Our bodily caves are brightly illuminated by the mysterious light from the three sources, our three Dantian, bridge points leading to immortality. The powerful spirits of the 8 directions can join our being with the true origin of life. By the absolute order of the divine Ling Bao in the highest 9th heaven, send the positive energies of Qianluo, Dana, Dengkan, and Tai Xuan, celestial masters, to destroy our spiritual obstacles and debilitate any evil influence. This order is given by the highest sovereignty. It is a jade oracle from the subtle origin. I invoke with strong sincerity to drive away the demons and evils and lengthen my healthy years. The attained spirits respond. The evil demon king, Mo Wang, is chained to stand as our garden servant. The powerful atmosphere has been generated, dispersing all negativity. The Qi of Tao is everlasting. So it is commanded and confirmed. So mote it be. Amen. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I really appreciate you. If you would, check me out on buymeacoffee.com/Frank Monday. A little something in the tip jar. And hit the likes and subscribe, all that fun stuff that makes YouTube's algobots bark like Pavlov's dog. Aren't we all just Pavlovian dogs barking at the machine? Keep doing good magic, everyone. And until